Hi there. My name's Chris. Let's talk about solar panels in the game of Subsistence. I first started playing somewhere, I think at the end of Alpha 58 or the very beginning of 59. And I would go on the forums and ask questions about power and whatnot. And I got varied and mixed answers. And so along the way, I started doing my own investigations. And so when I watch YouTube videos or look at the forums, I'll see some things that people do or say that don't match with the way solar panels work. Um, and so I just like to try to demonstrate a few things so it becomes clear. Now look at that. This solar panel just started producing power. And this is what the light looks like. One of the things that I believe is that people don't realize how early in the day and how late in the day solar panels actually do produce. So there, so there's a pretty good demonstration of how early in the day they start. And it'll surprise most people how late in the day they produce also. One of the things, let's try to be a little more careful. How about right about here? Does it matter what direction they face? No, it doesn't. That's one's 14%. Now, since the sun's coming up, this may vary just a little bit, but we clicked them all before they had a chance to change. So those are all at 14%. They're all facing different directions. To actually prove to yourself that the direction doesn't matter, you would want to do something like this and check it multiple times throughout the day. If you do, you'll find that they are always the same. The direction does not matter. Well, we're losing a little bit of light. I hope we're not going to have a storm today. We're going to have a storm today. Okay, so that's one thing. Now, another thing that I see people do and say is that it doesn't matter how you place them. You can crowd them all in together and it doesn't affect their performance at all. Now, that's very easy to show that that's not true. Now, okay, that's not going to work. 6%, 6%, and 12%. So we can see that there are circumstances where just throwing them down doesn't work. Now, there's a lot of different circumstances where it's problematic, and I can't always reproduce that at will. I'm going to give it a couple of tries. Okay, lights come up to 25%. That's working just fine. I'm going to give it a few tries, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. I've already shown that it can be a problem. Oh, we got a plane coming. This place gets hit a lot. And if it's getting hit, they're not flying towards us. Okay. If it's getting hit, because the hunters will just appear right in front of you. So if it's getting hit, you kind of want to be ready for it. That's 12. That's 11. That's 11. And that's 23. So all three of these are producing at about half. Okay. So just jumbling them together can be a problem. So what I would say now, there's a very good chance I could move one of these a smidge and it'll be fine. So let's try that. Now there's a good chance that'll be fine. No, it's not. Okay. And that's 21. But anytime you're putting them down in close proximity, just click on them. Okay, let's say we just throw one down here, and I'm going to throw it right about there. All you got to do is click on them. That's 20%. That's 10%. That's 10%. But just check them. So I can't say exactly when it's going to be a problem. because there's a very good chance that when I put those three together like that, that they all would have worked. Now it'll stay the same way the whole time. If it's not working when you put them down, it's not going to change. And if they're working when you put them down, it's not going to change. So just check as you put them down. Sometimes intersecting bases can be the base of the panel can be a problem, and sometimes not. So that's 31, and that's 31. That didn't seem to be a problem. But if we stack a third one, let's see, it may or may not be a problem. That's 31. That's 15. That's 30. So the middle one's not producing. So just be careful putting them in close proximity. Just check them as you put them down. That's all you need to do. Now, is being near a railing cause solar panels problems? It certainly does planters. Does intersecting with a railing cause troubles? Nope. 28 is what we've got because of the storm. And another thing, when people talk about solar panels as opposed to wind turbines, a lot of people times you hear people kind of talking as if solar panels don't produce power in the storm. Well, they do. Not as much as, certainly not as much as on a sunny day. But it's not like they quit just because there's a storm and it won't let me get through there. Now, this is kind of hard to reproduce. Sometimes on stairs, they will, you can get a panel to be at an angle. If it's at an angle, it's not producing full light. I guess I shouldn't say that definitively, but my experience is it will not be producing full light. Okay, what if its base is in the water? Well, it looks like we're getting 26%, which is undoubtedly what those are getting. What if we totally submerge it? 26%. They don't mind being underwater. What about being indoors? Let's see if we can check that. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say that they can be indoors in a sealed room and be producing just fine. Now, this one's not. That's 15%, so it's cut it down by 50%. Now, there may be a location in this room that I can get it to work, but with trial and error, we could probably find that it would work 14%. So the ones outdoors are undoubtedly getting 28% right now. Let's try down here. This isn't going to work. 13%. So being indoors is problematic unless the panel is your walls and ceiling are all glass. Yeah, 12%. So that's definitely not working. So let's look up here. Now there's a bunch of panels here, and we're all indoors. It's only surrounded by glass. 22%. Now I've moved this wall panel. These are definitely outdoors. What are they getting? 21%. We're definitely losing our light here. 20%. 20%. So the ones indoors, if it's all glass, they're going to produce just fine if it's all glass. And you can see we've got some scraps of wood up there, and that's not bothering anything. But there are some exceptions to the all glass is just fine. And I'm going to turn that around. It doesn't matter. Now what do we get? 10%. What's going on? Anytime you're next to slanted glass, you're going to get 50%. So slanted glass is a no-no. And I don't know about being near one of these curved walls. And I don't know about being near this glass roof. This one doesn't seem to cause any problem. This one doesn't seem to cause any problem. I've never tried with one of these. But clearly, next to the slanted glass walls, it just cuts your light in half. Okay, let's look at something else. I'm going to take this back out. One common thing that I see people do is place panels on a surface from below that surface. Something like that. Now, if this was a wood ceiling, we would see the bottom of the base through the wood. Now, what's that doing? 7%. Man, our light must be dropping. So these must be about 15% right now. Yeah. Oh, come on. Now let's just replace that from above. I want it to be basically the same place that was. What's it getting now? 20%. So we can see that those are going to be 20%. So this being near this slanted glass isn't what the problem was. It was that the base was sunk into the ceiling. All right. I'm going to put these back in that original configuration where they're facing all different directions, just so we can check the directions again. $29, $33. This is going to be 33 now. 33, 33. So again, direction doesn't matter. Now I've got 85 solar panels in this system. 85 solar panels. And how many wind turbines do I have? None. And why is that? Well, I've done testing. Now, I have to say that the testing that I've done was on 61. It is possible that there are some changes that have happened since then. But I'm going to try to do some testing here on 63 and see if there have been any changes. I highly doubt it, but it's worth testing, particularly if I'm going to say what I'm saying now. The reason that I have no wind turbines is wind turbines, through testing, show to produce only about 65% of the power that a solar panel does. And so they're just not worth making. Now people will say, what about at night? Well, at night there's a high probability that the wind turbines aren't producing either. What about during storms like we have right now? Well, we're still putting out quite a bit of power. Solar panels don't quit producing in storms. And yes, the wind is going to produce more at that point. But the key is that you want to have, and this is kind of ridiculous. I don't expect anybody or many people to have 41,000 power storage. So this is a ridiculous system, let's face it. But what you want to have is enough storage that the solar panels rarely can fill it up completely. And when you have that, you know that you are capturing all of the potential power that the solar panels are creating. And when you have captured all of that, since the wind turbines can never outproduce a solar panel over any length of time, what you have done is you've already captured the power that you would hope to make up with the wind turbines during a storm. You've already used the piece that produces more power and captured it, so the wind can never catch up. It's playing from behind the whole time. I hope that makes sense. There might be a better way to phrase it. Let's talk about upgrades. And this is something that comes up quite often. Now, I've got 85 solar panels, and maybe 15 to 20 of them have the first upgrade. None have the second upgrade. A new panel produces 100% output. An upgrade produces 25%. We would have to do 4 upgrades to equal a new panel. Well, what do 4 upgrades cost? Well, it would be 8 sinew instead of 3 to make 1 rope. It would be 28 electricals instead of 12 to make 2 circuit boards. It would be 16 scrap instead of 10 scrap. It would be 4 ingots instead of 4 adhesive. It'd be 320 mass instead of 150 mass, and it'd be 480 power instead of 500. So barely cheaper in power, but dreadfully more expensive in every other way. However, these 4 upgrades don't require the new ores to make the capacitors and semiconductors. So in a certain circumstance, if we've got a bunch of this stuff but we just don't have new ores, well, I'd say go get new ores. But you could see that there might be a circumstance where this could make sense. If I've got 250 sinew and 700 electricals, well, maybe it's just easier. Okay? But purely from a total resource, it doesn't make sense. Now, what about the second upgrade? Again, multiplying this by 4, that would be 4 rope instead of 1. That would be 4 circuit boards instead of 2. That would be 16 scrap instead of 10. It'd be 32 crystal instead of 4 adhesive, which is easier to get. 4 adhesive or 32 crystal. It would be 360 mass instead of 150. It would be 540 power instead of 500. This never makes sense from a resource standpoint. Now, what if I filled up all the space that I want to have for the solar panels, and I don't want to create any new space, and I'm fat with resources. I've got resources hanging all over the place. Then maybe you could make a case, but that's going to be pretty rare. Okay, 74% light, 75% light, 75. 76. Now this is going to be 76. This is going to be 76. Or did that go up to 78? So, no, 76. So you can see that the direction doesn't matter. Sun's coming out. That's nice. Okay, is there anything else I would like to cover? I think that pretty much covers everything. However, there is one thing that I could do. I could show how I have tested the output of wind versus solar in the past. So if you're interested in that, stick around. I can do this pretty quickly. If you're not interested in that, I think all the informational part regarding solar panels is done. So you might want to just check out. But I'm going to go to a different world. I believe it is this profile. And I don't know what time of day it is. We'll have to see. Okay, it is morning. Okay, so this was essentially my second playthrough. And it's the last time I've ever built any wind turbines. What I did was took turbines and panels that I already had, and I put this little platform here where I can set things from there, from the base. Any bad guys around? And then move it to here where I have a VCU. So the VCUs don't touch, but I'm able to move things between the two VCUs. Now here I've just got a VCU, one storage, two wind turbines, and I was going to add two more. The more you have, the quicker the testing goes, because basically what we're going to do is do a race between the wind and the solar to see who fills up 1,000 storage first, and then we'll write down that one of them, solar, because it's always solar, got 1,000, and then the wind got 750 or whatever it might be. Now you notice I do have lights. That's there to drain power from the system. Now again, we've just got a little place where we can move things between that BCU and this BCU. The BCU, storage, and solar panels. And I've got stairs because I can't put the solar panels on the ceiling above me, and they work properly as we've demonstrated. You know what I could do? I could move this just because if we do put it there from down below, it's hard to see, but can you kind of see the ring of that base showing through the floor? That wasn't as evident on the glass, but you can see here the base is sunk into the surface. So that's what you want to avoid. But it's relatively simple to set this up, and it really doesn't cost you anything, because in the end I'm going to be able to, well, it costs you 2 VCUs. In the end, I'm going to be able to move all of this stuff back to my base. Some of it I made new probably, and then I'll just have more, which is always cool. And then, so once you've filled up your storages, you need some lights to drain it. The more lights you have, the quicker it drains. And it's really nice to be able to move the lights from one side to the other, so if one drains quicker than the other, notice how there's always more lights on the solar panel. It's because they create more power. So I can move a light over to here so that, well, I can move them back and forth so that I can get things drained as quick as possible. But so is not a very complicated setup to put up, and it essentially costs you virtually nothing, maybe a few platforms and what have you. But everything that except those 2 BCUs, I can reuse back here at the base. So it's relatively easy. The biggest problem is that it can take a fair amount of time. And a lot of times, because you need to be there right when that storage fills up, sometimes you're just hanging around waiting for that. You don't have time to go anywhere, do anything. You need to just be kind of sitting there twiddling your thumbs. So it's a bit of a pain, but it's certainly not hard. So that's how I did my testing, and hopefully I'll do it again. If I do it again, I'm probably going to do it on a different world. Because the one concern that I have is whether different worlds have different weather effects. My hunch is the answer is probably not, and that I'm probably going to get the exact same results, or very, very, very similar results. But that's just something I want to take out of the equation. Does the weather vary from world to world? I've played in about 12 different worlds or so, and I don't think it does. I don't see any difference. Now, also, what about locations on the map? I don't know if we can see this. Yeah, I can't see it. I've got a little test bed right up here somewhere. I'm not seeing it right now, and I've done some testing there. I've got a base here. I've done some testing there. Um, it, it, and I think that's it. At any rate, I did one kind of, I'm surprised we can't see it, but they're just individual foundations. And sometimes you can see an individual foundation, sometimes you can't. And in that case, it's only two individual foundations. But I wondered whether elevation made any difference. Now, I didn't do, 20, 30 tests at that elevation. I probably did 4 or 5, but the results were just basically identical to what I'd gotten right here. So I didn't see any reason to continue doing it. So, at any rate, that covers just about everything. Um, I'm not a YouTuber. There, this is not going to get a lot of views. I know that, but I'm going to share it with a few people who play Subsistence, and I don't know how much it'll get spread around. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. If I know the answer to the question, I'll tell you the answer. If I don't know the answer, I'll say I don't know the answer. And if there's anything you disagree with or feel is wrong, please let me know, and we'll try to figure it out. But that should be it. Hope this helps. Take care.